So I wanted to be involved with this event because I haven't been able to do a lot of poetry readings lately because of COVID. And I've just been attending a lot of online events and performances that have been really fun. And I figured, well, this is a really fun, safe space. There are a lot of great people who come to these events. And I just wanted to share more of what I had besides just my acting with the audience. So, and of course, to hear everyone else's work too, and hear what they're working on as well. That's one of the main reasons why I wanted to jump back in. The lineup for my poetry for this event is going to start with a poem called Queer, Vida Obscura Queer. It's just kind of a timeline almost of the relationships that I had been in relation to cars. So each person that I had been involved with drove a particular car that reminds me of them, and memories that are triggered by those particular cars, and just being able to understand my path towards my queerness and who I am as a queer individual, and being able to kind of recall what that was like. That's kind of what the first piece is for, is just being able to provide like a timeline of what my relationships kind of were like, and those memories that get brought up from those memories. So my second piece is called Bad Girls in Black. That is a dedicated poem to all of the wonderful mujeres and women with an X, who are really can seem intimidating at first, but are really heartfelt. I did a lot of organizing as an undergrad, and a lot of organizing now as a graduate student too, where I engaged with a lot of people who were in the alternative world and the underground. And for a lot of people who are outside of those sort of hubs of lifestyles, it could seem intimidating and bizarre, especially for women who are, look different or behave unladylike, whatever that might be. I wanted to dedicate this poem to them so that people could understand where they were coming from and why there's these forms of trauma that might prevent them from seeming nice and warm and ladylike, but really they're trying to protect themselves and the ones that they love. They're very, very dedicated, but, because of the hardships that they had to endure, it's hard to let anyone outside of maybe who they're comfortable being with in. And also it's just because, I was a little punk kid. I'm still a punk kid at heart. And so I went to a lot of shows and did a lot of underground type of stuff. And so it kind of was dedicated to that part of my life too, and being able to be involved with those kind of hubs of performances and the type of underground that some artists have considered to be, to the wayside because it's not high art, but that's the kind of art that I love, and that's why I wanted to give them the light of day that they deserve. My final piece is called Bloom. So if you look at, for my portion of this event, if you look in the background, that's actually a highway where there's a lot of car accidents. And so 6 years ago, I was actually in a really bad car accident on that road. So I was not driving, but the driver kind of lost control and we flipped twice. And so went through really, really intense physical therapy, had to kind of learn how to walk again and do basic things again and, sit upright and all of these elements. And so because of my fear during the accident itself, I actually clutched onto my car seat. And so I think instinctually, just every once in a while, I'll do that again. And that's what this poem is about, is just, again, this concept of memory and remembering what I was thinking during that time. And then because I have PTSD, going from that moment back into where I am in the current time and recognizing that I do this. A lot of people, most people, if not everyone, have no idea that I do that, but it's just something that I do. And all those memories that I lay out in this poem kind of hit me at once. And then towards the end, as I'll read, I kind of come back to reality and kind of come back to the time that I'm actually in. And I have to kind of create this mantra to remind myself that I'm not at that point. So that's the 3 poems that I'll be reading for this event. I think with any poetry reading that I do, but I think especially now because it's virtual, I really want the audience to reflect. I think now that we're kind of isolated and going through extreme pressures of anxiety and uncertainty, we are kind of starting to unravel on an individualistic, nationalistic, and internationalistic level, so much so that we have no choice but to look inward. And I think being able to bring up these hard memories that I have had and showing ways where we can do it in a positive manner, in an artistic manner, and in a manner where we can have safe spaces and have those type of conversations is really what I'm trying to get at, and really something that I would like the audience to have and to know that they can be progressive in the way that they reach out to other people, to know that when they go through maybe through harsh memories that I'm not exactly like mine, but when they're engaging in their own traumatic experience, to know that it's okay to reach out, that it's okay to have days where you just have to shut yourself off, where there will be days where you will reflect and things could feel overwhelming, whether it's based on the past or everything that's going on in the present or both, that there are people that they know or outside sources that they can engage in and have ways to take care of themselves. So I think what I also want them to know is that, there are other forms of therapeutic methods besides just traditional westernized therapy. There's so much available, and I really want them to have that type of thinking and know that they're not entirely by themselves, and there are people out there and resources out there that are available to them to help them out. I'm so looking forward when I attend, when I'm not performing, I'm looking forward to hearing what everyone else is working on. I'm always excited to see the lineup of people who I've known and people who are new. It's always exciting to hear something new and learn something new and to engage in fruitful conversations. I have a really good friend of mine, Melanie, who was with me during my undergrad, who also worked in theater, and we kind of worked together on the Latinx play project. And she's doing a piece at the very end, so I'm really excited to see how she's grown and see, her piece. But everyone else too, it's always nice to have a pleasant surprise at these events and hear what everyone else is working on and make new friends and see some old ones. These type of events, like the stage stories, are important for our communities because they also feel like they could also get involved. They can also engage. Different people have different ways of doing that. Some people just are too shy to talk, and that's totally fine. Sometimes they just want to watch. That's perfectly okay. Other people want to jump in and see how they can help. Other people want to be participants. Other people want to be writers. And so it's important for our communities because they get to hear from people like them, right? People who are from the barrios, people who have struggled, people who have engaged with unique circumstances as they pertain to different communities that other communities may not know about, or they know about but have not experienced. And so for our community members who come and attend, again, this is not to just create shows and create events because we want to put on this Mickey Mouse show, right? These are real, raw things that we've experienced. And those are real, raw things that we want people to think about for themselves. And if they want to, in some way, engage in it in an artistic manner, then we're here to support them. And we're here to mentor them and help them. And so it's important for our community to hear from other people in their community and engage in conversations where we're talking with them. We're not talking to them. We're not talking about them. We are familia. We are in a way, there's a connection that's to be had. And so with that connection, we are able to have more thorough, realistic, heartfelt conversations and real heartfelt reflections on our lives. That way, we can again get all these anxieties or these forms of depression or these forms of X, Y, and Z out and just have a solid conversation without feeling a wall that needs to be set up, because again, you're getting talked to rather than talked with. And so that's important for our community, is to know that there are representations of who they are in a positive manner, in a non-stereotypical manner, in a non-offensive manner, and that they themselves can also flourish and thrive, and that whatever that they're going through, that they would be able to get through it. All voices need to be heard, because just as a historian, and not speaking just from a theatrical point of view, voices need to be heard because we get into this rabbit hole of accepting forms of oppression and forms of stereotypical ideologies that are not who we truly are, and we feel intimidated. We should not be allowed to feel intimidated. We shouldn't be forced to feel like we have to engage in the same stories that are not in our heart. They're not passionate for us. They're just entertaining. And so our voices need to be heard, because then we produce something like what the nation is going through right now, and we put certain people in power that are exhibiting these forms of extreme violences towards a multitude of communities, because it's under a capitalistic heteropatriarchal ideology where there needs to be a form of dominance, or there needs to be in the theater world, competition. Right? For us, competition is not important. We don't want to engage in that form of competition. It's not something that will be fruitful, because we are more invested in hearing and educating ourselves and being willing to learn. We are always learning every single day. We don't think that we know everything about everything, especially when it comes to art. Art is subjective, but we also want to make sure that those who are rejected, those who may not feel comfortable within mainstream theatrical companies, have a place where they can feel comfortable and really understand and dismantle why they feel uncomfortable, and then be able to engage in an artistic way methods that will allow them to feel comfortable with who they are, and understand more so their identity and the hardships that they and their ancestors have gone through as well. So it's important for all voices to be heard, especially in artistic manner, because as we see, what you see in the museums, what you see in mainstream theater shows, what you see on TV are not us. And that needs to be definitely reversed, because then we get sucked into white patriarchy, we get sucked into white heteronormativity, we get sucked into these concepts that is normal, and anything outside of that is not normal and is not worthy of being listened to. That is completely false, and that's something that we're working on. So we have people from all walks of life, we have all ages, we have all identities. We try really hard to push to have as many people who feel comfortable in discovering who they are and are willing to learn involved in our work and in our spaces.